Bill's modest. He doesn't like peeing in front of people. While her and 2 or 3 other aides are standing saying, pee, come on, pee, 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 pee. And then when he doesn't pee in the time you want him to pee, you hear my mother say, oh, see, he's belligerent. Another one of those buzzwords, Alzheimer's. Bill's belligerent because he's modest, he doesn't want to pee in front of anybody. Like when he's screaming, like, get the fuck away from me. See also, like, he's angry. Imagine you're sitting on a toilet trying to pee. People are forcing you to pee, and you got 3 people looking over you telling you to pee. So, yeah, you'd be angry, and he's angry. My mother turns that into belligerent. He's being belligerent because every bit of his dignity is stolen from him every single day. And my mother's a big part of it. And when I try to tell my mother these things, Mom, Dad wants me, Dad and I have recorded conversations. He wants you to see them. He wants you to know how he experiences this, what he goes through every day. My mother's just silent. She walks, the few times I run into her there, she just walks right by me. She doesn't care. My mother's concern right now is that she doesn't have to spend any money on him, that his death is hastened, that he breaks a hip, something, so she knows he'll never get out of wherever he is. And ultimately, when he dies, to collect on life insurance. And I'm not saying this like casually, but I'm not saying it with drama. It's just part of my life and part of my father's life right now. So if I sound a little matter of fact about it, I've just been dealing with this for so long. It is what it is. I can't sugarcoat stuff to make my mother look good. I've done that for the last 7 years of my life. And my father and myself get the consequences of her bad behavior. I really have a concern. I think that my mother might go to prison. If you look at the legal definition of abuse, think that just her and Todd, how they brought her there, it's kidnapping. Yeah, it is. My mother's committed, and Todd. I hate to say it, but my mother especially. The civil suits with her, the breach of contracts with Gary, who we hired, who moved from Tampa to Marco, to the landlord where Gary was living, breached that contract, owes her money to me. I've spent, caring for my father's past couple of tens of thousands of dollars. It's probably easily $100,000 on the shit that my mother just doesn't do. And the felonies. First, second, third degree felonies is what she's committing. It's from kidnapping and putting my father in there to, my father's not been adjudicated by court. I think he's going to be soon. Of being totally incompetent. My mother's doing just some bad things. And when I sent her an email claiming abuse, I'm not claiming it, I have evidence of it. It's like anybody looking, if you look at, is this abuse? Anybody would say, yeah, that's abuse. It's not one thing, it's every single day. What she does when I send her that, she sends the email to her abusers and says, isn't this ridiculous? I don't want Douglas put cameras in there. I don't want Douglas to go in Bill's apartment anymore. That's her solution, is to just keep hiding what's happening because it doesn't fit in with what my mother's objectives are. And my mother's objectives are all about her. They have nothing to do with my father, his well-being, his safety. But anybody, if I showed Lois, if I showed you this, you would be in your car. You'd be down here calling the police on your way down here. Anybody would, any normal family. You'd get your husband out of here. You'd call the police, and next thing you do would be to call an attorney. My mother has the police called on me. My mother denies me access to my father, and my father, she denies my father access to see me. But I've been dealing with this for 2 years. I'm exhausted. Yeah, this trip here, I'm here, I think 12 days now. Can't leave. I've watched a camera where I've left here, I've driven back to Fort Lauderdale, And when I watch on my camera, get in my car, drive back here. And I got to smile to everybody, like they're not abusing my father. And it's because of my mother. And it's tough to do, but I do it, and I do it well. So, anyway, I think it's great. I know you're well-intentioned visiting my father. It shouldn't have been with my mother. It shouldn't just show up. You know, my father, there's a sense of shame, and I think you could understand that. And he's helpless. You know, he can't, oh yeah, I'm sick, I'm here for a little while, I'll be home soon. My mother insists he's there. And he would dare not say to anybody while she's there, you know, try to pass you a note or something. Please help me. Please get me out of here. Because in his mind, he doesn't know how to deal with it. And he looks at my mother like, you know, if he's good to my mother, that maybe she'll let him come home. And it's not going to happen. But he's totally at my mother's mercy. My mother has my father in such a submissive state. She's done this to me for years. Like, I'm figuring all this shit out in hindsight. That if you're submissive and cooperate with everything she wants you to do, she'll talk to you. If you don't, she won't. And she will punish you until you do. She will punish you so hard and so hurtfully until you submit to her will. And nobody should have to live like that, especially my father. Anyway, I don't know what to say. I hope you're doing well. But actually, that's why. I really might need you to testify in a courtroom, because you are the only person who really understands my family enough, or you've known me long enough, and my mother and father. There's something wrong with my mother, or always has been, whether it's childhood issues or I can't even say what I'm going to say because you'll think I'm a crazy one, so I'm not. But no doubt in conversations with my mother, she'll say stuff. It's mental problems or drinking or drugs or like whatever it is, just to infer something. So you're looking at me, you're hearing what I'm saying in a prejudicial way. But come on, you're a smart woman. I do too much, so she had to call the police. She had to take my father in a car to the police station, then to the fire station, then come home. Scare the shit out of me when cops walk in. Put your hands where I could see them. When I'm wrapping a Father's Day present, that she still will not allow me to give my father. It's been Father's Day. It's been now 2 Father's Days and his birthday. Anyway, at some point, you know, and I'm sorry to have to do this, you're going to feel feelings you're not going to want to have to feel. And I hope you're doing well. I really do. I understand like you're in an uncomfortable spot. For me, times it by a million. It's really uncomfortable. And at the end of the day, I almost want to just submit to my mother, but it's too painful for my father, so I can't. So, you know, I always like to believe I'm doing the right thing, and as hard as this is to do the right thing, I'm doing it. I have to. My father's nobody else. He has not another friend, family member, anybody in the world that will help him. I'm the only person, and other than you, I bet you when you were there, you probably engaged my father in conversation with an awareness, a conscious effort to not be patronizing or condescending to him. And it's difficult to have conversations with him because you don't want to say, oh, so how's the food? So how's everything? So it's real limited. My father and I, we're straight shooters. You know, Father's Day, I don't come, oh, Merry Christmas on Christmas. No. We've delayed celebrating all that stuff because it would, if I started saying shit like that, like my mother does, it would sound so disingenuous because it would be. My father wouldn't trust me. So what we talk about is him and getting him out of there. Because that's what's happening in his life. That's what's real and in the moment of his life. And it's been in the moment of his life from the day my mother and brother kidnapped him, herded him on the golf course, and dropped him off there. And my father knew where he was going. My father told me the experience 6 months ago, what he had to suffer, what he had to feel as his family was doing that, just because my mother's done with him. There's nothing left to get from my father. And my brothers, for all practical purposes, feel the same way. And all their actions show it. They're just done with him. So, I don't know how to end this. Well, I hope you're having a great evening, night, something. Okay? Hope you're well, though. I really do. I love you a lot. Dad loves you a lot. And sooner or later, we're going to have a conversation. I know you kind of feel like you're in between a rock and a hard place, but I know there's something, I know in your head, there's something not right with what Dee's saying. Or why would Douglas be saying or doing what he's doing? You could either believe I just don't have a brain, I'm mentally ill. But if you work on the premise that my mother's doing the wrong thing, all the things where you're not getting, that sound illogical, they will all become logical. It's just, it will all make sense. It's just that you, nor do I, nor does my father, nor does anybody want to believe that against my mother. Want to believe that that's my mother. It ain't easy. But if it's, I got to take care of my father. My father and myself shouldn't be getting the consequences of my mother's bad and, quite honestly, illegal behavior. She should have those consequences, not us. And we've had them long enough. I've tolerated it for years. My father shouldn't have to tolerate it. Not at all. He's 79 years old and he has Alzheimer's disease. He should have compassion, love. Everyone should do whatever anybody needs to do to help him. You know, make the accommodation for him as he has done and still does every single day of his life for everybody else. And if it's a little tough on my mother, tough shit. Yeah, she had a strong, able-bodied person in there. My mother had more free time. With a live-in who was a live-out, I was able to do that. Get a live-in who's a live-out, and then by the time maybe you might need him as a live-in, he's all trained, knows everything about your husband, knows everything about her, knows everything about their home. That wasn't good enough. She used him to run down the deductible on the policy. She used him and me. She used me, getting him, to save on the elimination period. I probably saved her $20-something thousand. And what she did, when she didn't need me anymore, she called the police on me with nothing but hot air, because she needed to start a reason to tell people to get me the hell out of there. She's sick. Anyway, some tangents, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Hope you're doing well. Say hi to Jacques. And I know it's uncomfortable for you. Next time you might be in Florida, look me up. I mean, I could show you stuff that you don't want to see, but it will it'll blow your mind. It's stuff you don't want to feel, but you know, after you feel it, it ain't so bad. See you, Lois. Bye.